Hi, my name is Roland and welcome to my VectrexRoli show. Thanks for joining me again, and this time I will show you something very special. You will not find that often on YouTube, and even when you find it, you don't really learn that much from the videos available in most cases. This here is the Japanese version of the Vectrex video game system sold by Bandai around 1983. I wanted to show you that for a long time now, and we even had already a script and storyboard ready for some intro skit together with Mrs. Vectrexroli, similar to what we did in our older videos. But you know, this was a busy year. I travel a lot currently and my wife often has to work also on Saturdays, so no skits for now unfortunately, as they often take more time to produce than the whole rest of the video. And as my channel here is just a non-commercial hobby activity, I have to focus on videos I still can handle with the amount of time available. Anyway, if you are new to my little show here, the Vectrex is my favorite gaming system, but not all videos here on my channel are about the Vectrex. I have different playlists for different systems and even home computers, and there is also one playlist with all my Vectrex related videos I made so far. And if you are new to the Vectrex, I can recommend to watch my beginner's guide video, where I tell you the most important things you should know before you go out and buy a Vectrex. And there is also one other specific video that could be interesting for you then, where I show you all the multi and flash cards I got so far for that system. Go and subscribe to my channel, as I will also cover more Vectrex topics in future videos, and even there are much bigger YouTube channels out there. Trust me, most of them don't really cover Vectrex items in so much detail like I do here. For some special items I upload also 3D versions of my videos, so if you want you can watch also this video here in 3D using any 3D device currently supported by YouTube, like smart TVs, 3D glasses, virtual reality add-ons or the Nintendo new 3DS for example. Why am I doing that? Well, I want my channel to be something like an online museum. You will not find any community videos here like video responses to 5 random questions someone asked. If someone finds one of my videos in a few years from now, it should be still interesting and relevant to watch. So 3D gives the possibility to watch stuff in front of you, so that you have the feeling you can even touch it. And in case you don't care about 3D, no problem, just go and watch the standard 2D version instead. And if you want my opinion on 5 random questions someone asked, just contact me on Facebook, but hell, not even my own wife really cares about my opinions. Anyway, what we are looking at is the box for the Japanese Vectrex version. I really like the whole design, and even the box is not in nice shape, I'm still happy that I got one, so that I can show you also that. The Japanese Vectrex version is basically very similar to the US version, which is GC branded, which stands for General Consumer Electronics, and also to the European version, which was marketed by Milton Bradley. The Japanese version, sold by Bandai, had a different green logo design, but here the logo looks more blue as my box seems to be sun faded unfortunately. Really would like to find a better looking replacement box at some point. This Japanese model is called Kousokusen, and please keep in mind that I can neither speak nor understand Japanese language, so if you are from Japan, please excuse my horrible pronunciation, which is even worse than my English. Yes, who knew that something like that would even be possible? As far as I know, Kousokusen means light speed chip or something along those lines. By the way, if you know more about that Bandai Vectrex than I tell you here, or if I tell you something wrong, please feel free to write it in the comment section below. We are all here to learn something, and there is not really that much information available about the topic on the web. Maybe I would find out more if I would be able to read and understand also Japanese web forums. Before we will have a closer look, let's watch some Japanese TV commercial from back in the days. This is some low-resolution footage I found on YouTube. Normally I don't use any external video content I have not produced myself, but you have to see this.
見せてあげよう。ベクトルスキャン。映像はここまで進化した。圧倒的迫力で未来を打つ、未来を描く。コンピュータプレイは未体験ゾーンへ。ベクトルスキャン映像高速船。
I will link to the original YouTube video I got this from, as there are some more Japanese commercials shown there. Next I put the Japanese box beside an European Vectrex box from Germany, so that you can see the difference in design. On the German box on the left they tell you that you don't need any TV to play the games, which was one unique selling point for the European market of the early 1980s. People didn't have really that many TVs at home like it is the case today. On the Japanese box on the right side we see some young lad watching a screen overlay for the built-in game Mindstorm, and looking at his face he looks more like he would be playing some of those weird Japanese dating simulators, or he looks like he knows what I had to pay to get that system. Darling, if you watch this video, this was just some stupid joke, of course. On one side of the box we can see some of the Vectrex games. Without the built-in game Mindstorm, 27 games for the Vectrex were originally released in North America under the GC brand, but on the Japanese box we can only see 11 of those titles that were also released in Japan, but we will come to the games later. For those of you that feel already too old for playing Vectrex games, here they show you that also older kids like us can have some fun by carrying around the system in one hand. And I show you also this side here of the Japanese box, where they show you the system, and you can already see there that both the system and controller came with a different looking logo than US and European versions. So let's open up the box and let's see what came inside. My system here is not really 100% complete, some paperwork is missing, so I can only show you here what I've got. The system came in styrofoam inserts, similar to US and European consoles, and there's also some piece of cardboard on top. Besides the console, you got the manual for the system and the manual for the built-in game Mindstorm, so also the Japanese version had that same game built in, and you got also the screen overlay for that game and some poster. The manuals are both in Japanese language, as you would expect, so let's have a quick look at those. I always love those manuals where I cannot read a thing. I can tell you that it can get quite hard to get the box and those manuals, maybe even harder than the system itself. Both the system manual and the Mindstorm game manual were printed in Hong Kong. The overlay basically looks like a standard US Mindstorm overlay from what I can tell, so if you want to get the Bandai Vectrex and the original overlay is missing, it can be replaced with another original one, and as even those are not that easy to find anymore, some people are making repro overlays today. For example, I got excellent professionally printed repro Mindstorm overlays from Vectrex.co.uk a while ago. They're absolutely top-notch quality and look and feel like original ones, but people also printing overlays themselves on their own printer, like Steven from the Vectrex Fans Unite Facebook group, so you can get repro overlays from him, but also nice looking new designs made by himself. Now let's have a look at the poster. As far as I know, it came with every Japanese Vectrex system and Japanese Vectrex game. There we see the same lad from the box again, but now the colors are correct, as the poster is not sun faded, and there we see also the 11 Japanese game releases again. On the back side of the poster they explain the games a bit more, I guess. You know what is funny with those posters is that they go for quite some money on eBay. People sometimes pay more for the poster alone compared to what I paid for my Bandai Vectrex games, where that poster was always included. Next I want to show you some photos made by a fellow collector, Chris Vectrex Romero. He knows much more about the Vectrex than most people, including myself, will ever know, and he owns many super rare Vectrex items, and I would say he got some stuff which I didn't know that it was even existing. He was so kind to put some high-resolution photos on his Google Photos account, where you can see some Bandai Vectrex paperwork that didn't come with my system, so it seems there was even some members card included. If you want to check out all photos, I will leave a link in the description text below. He also shows other things there like a Bandai Vectrex bag and a Japanese fan-made magazine. Here we see now the Japanese Vectrex system. Besides the green Kousokusen logo and the red Bandai logo, you don't really see much of a difference to any other Vectrex system. Even I have to say those Japanese logos look pretty cool. So everything you know already from US or European Vectrex consoles is exactly the same on the Japanese system. It has vector-based black and white graphics, there are 2 controller jacks built in, a reset button, on-off switch with volume controls and so on. I cannot tell you everything about the Vectrex system in general here, as there is no time for that in this video. Just go and watch my beginner's guide or my other Vectrex videos to learn more about that. So also here you get the standard Vectrex analog joysticks with 4 buttons, only difference is the nice looking Bandai overlay on the controller. You can use any other Vectrex controller instead, and as always I recommend not to use original vintage controllers for playing games if possible. I always use a hacked Sega controller for most games or a modern analog controller for the few games that need analog controls. Original replacement controllers can get quite expensive, they can cost even more than the system itself, and it can get quite painful to repair the original Vectrex controllers, as you have to remove the overlay on the controller first, and there is a high chance that you might ruin the controller overlay. You can get repro replacements for US and European joysticks, for example from sellmyretro.com, but at the time I made this video I have not seen any Bandai repro overlays for the controller so far, which is maybe also good in some way, as we suddenly would see a lot of fake Bandai Vectrex controllers showing up on eBay. You know, I already have seen a similar issue with Nintendo Virtual Boy items, as I am a hardcore collector for that system. There is a rare display box for the original US Virtual Boy pack-in game Mario's Tennis available. That box was only used in stores and the game was not sold in that box in the US, and I'm really glad I got my box already years ago, before someone flooded eBay with high quality repro boxes. To be honest, I would not be able to tell the difference between a real and a fake one by just looking at some photos on eBay. Now let's have a look at the back of the system, and there we see a white power cable, so they adapted the system to work with Japanese wall sockets. On the stick on the back it says 100 volts and 26 watts, and it also says 50/60 Hz. As far as I know, they still only use 100 volts in Japan nowadays, and in some regions they use 50 Hz AC and in some others 60 Hz. For the Vectrex or modern computers, that frequency is not really important. Here in my neck of the woods we use 230 volts AC with 50 Hz, so I need a power converter to run the system, unless I would mod the power supply in my Bandai Vectrex system, which I don't want to do. Now some information about power converters, which is an important topic if you live in Europe. In case you don't know, most cheap step-down converters you can buy from China don't really touch DAC frequency at all. If you have 50 Hz on the input, you will get also 50 Hz on the output, but as I already said, it doesn't really matter for our Bandai Vectrex and most other devices. When it comes to older devices from Japan, which you would like to run for a longer period of time, let's say for a few hours for example, it might be a good idea to get a step-down converter that comes as close as possible to the 100 volts used in Japan. Most converters made for my region have around 110 to 120 volts on the output, as they are usually made to run US devices here in Europe. I use such a converter for my Nintendo Virtual Boy store kiosk for example, and it works also with the Bandai Vectrex and would not kill it immediately, but you know, I feel more comfortable using a converter that comes closer to the specs. So I found this step-down converter on eBay. They claim it can handle 50 watts max and has a socket for Japanese power plugs built in. Always be careful with those watts they specify on those converters. When they say 50 watts max, they usually don't mean that you can use 50 watts for hours. It's more in a way that it works for about 10 minutes, but then it will go up in flames, destroy your house, kill you and your whole family, and maybe also your whole neighborhood. So remember, always take a much stronger step-down converter than you might think you need. This converter should be strong enough to handle the 26 watts used for the Bandai Vectrex at least for some time. The only reliable way to find out what voltage really comes out now is to measure it. On my multimeter it did show about 102 to 103 volts AC output with 230 volts AC input, which is what we need and also much better than the 110 to 120 volts I get out of other converters. When switching the Bandai Vectrex on, it says GCE Entertaining New Ideas on the screen, so you don't get any Bandai related text. The console makes the typical buzzing sound, so it does not behave like later so-called no-buzz Vectrex systems, for example. If no cartridge is plugged in, the game Mindstorm shows up exactly like on any other Vectrex console. By the way, in case the screen is flickering on this video here, that's because I don't have much control over that when using my camera in 3D mode. Usually I use my camera in 2D mode when making Vectrex videos, and there is a good reason for that, because then I can reduce screen flickering in most cases. You know, I sometimes watch Vectrex videos on bigger commercial YouTube channels. Production quality is high, their lighting is great, the script is fun, everything is entertaining and perfect, and then when it comes to the part where they show some gameplay footage for a great Vectrex game, all you see on the screen is a flickering mess, as they didn't walk the extra mile to adapt the camera settings properly, or they didn't know how to do that, which is really hard to believe in case of professional video production companies. And all the viewers out there that don't own a Vectrex and don't know how it looks in reality ask themselves then why anyone would like to play such a horrible looking game. That is really sad in my opinion, so whenever showing some Vectrex gameplay footage, I try at least to reduce some flickering whenever possible. As there is no region lock on Vectrex systems, we can launch any card we want, also on a Japanese Vectrex, so let's start the test card ROM from a Vec Multi Flash card to see the ROM checksum. The checksum is B796. Looking at the checksum and the title screen we saw before, this Bandai Vectrex has basically the same ROM built in like one of my European Vectrex systems, so it is basically identical to that. I really don't know if also other ROM versions were ever released in Japan and if there was also a Japanese version of the so-called no-buzz Vectrex available. At the moment I don't think so. That fellow Vectrex collector I did mention before, Chris Vectrex Romero, he was so kind to check all his Bandai Vectrex systems he got, and they also were all models with that B796 ROM checksum. Now let's come to the Japanese Vectrex games. As I already said, only 11 original games were released in Japan besides Mindstorm, but of course you can use all Vectrex games available also on the Bandai version, including modern homebrew titles. The Japanese games are identical to standard US or European games, so the text in the game itself is not in Japanese language. Please don't expect any game reviews here now. I don't own all Japanese versions, I just want to quickly show you cartridges, boxes and manuals for the games I got. For most of those games, Bandai made stickers which were attached to the GC US version of the boxes. You got the standard GC overlay for the game, you got a special Bandai sticker on the cartridge together with a Japanese game manual, and you got the poster you already have seen. Only for two Bandai games that was slightly different. Scramble was released as Scramble Wars and Star Trek was released as Harmageddon, and those two titles had their own boxes and not just GC boxes with added stickers. Those two games were also released with unique looking overlays. I've seen that the overlay for Harmageddon is still GC branded and not Bandai branded, and when the game starts up it says Starship on the screen and not Star Trek, like it is the case with the European MB Vectrex version of that game. Something that I did also mention in my beginner's guide video is that all the plastic inlays for the game boxes I got from Japan so far look yellowed. Still not really sure if this was specific to Japanese versions or if they were white when they were new and the Japanese climate changed their look over the years, or maybe most people in Japan were heavy smokers back in the 1980s, which I don't think that is what caused the color of the inlays, as they are not really smelling bad. So there you have it, the Japanese Bandai Vectrex system and some of the games for it. Is it worth getting one? Well, if you are from Japan, maybe this is the one Vectrex version you really want to own, even I'm pretty sure that also US GC versions work just fine in Japan. If you can get the system or the games for a good price, there is nothing wrong buying that, of course, but keep in mind you don't get any special or different gaming experience when using a Japanese Bandai Vectrex system, and also all the Bandai games are basically identical to US or European versions. If you are from outside of Japan, you would also need to think about step-down converters, and it also gets more complicated to repair the controller, so if you are more a gamer, I would not recommend paying a fortune for that. Leave it to crazy Vectrex collectors out there and just get a standard GC or MB branded Vectrex system. As with all those collector things, the truth is, whatever seems valuable to you now, one day you will die and someone will come to throw all your crap away. I don't want to sound negative here, but that's a fact how it really is, so use your time and think about what you really want and enjoy. I only got this Bandai Vectrex because I'm definitely one of those crazy Vectrex collectors, and it would not be so much fun without sharing all my items here with you on my little show on YouTube. So I hope this was interesting, entertaining and helpful for you. You know, making videos is really a lot of work and very time consuming, and as this is a non-commercial hobby activity, this is a free service for you, so please consider subscribing to my channel to show your support. You will find a lot of stuff you have not seen on a million other YouTube channels before. Please like, share and feel free to leave a comment. Say hello to us also on Facebook, and as always, thanks for watching.